Hello class, for today I'm going to go over trigonometric functions dealing with vertical shift along with the amplitude. Yesterday we have been talking about amplitude where, forget about this phase shift for now, where this value in the front of the trigonometric functions means the distance between the highest to the middle or the lowest to the middle. It amplifies the how high or how low the wave is going to go. That was the amplitude. For today, what I want to talk to you guys about is vertical shift. It's essentially how much you're going to move the entire graph and you're going to shift it upwards or downwards. Going back to what we have been talking about before with graph transformations, when I have given you the x squared or any quadratic functions and I ask you what's going to happen when I add the 2 next to it, you have to say that it's going to move up to. So the equation will be this, but the graph transformation part would be up to. So the vertical shift is very, very easy to understand in the sense that once you get the fact that whatever you added or subtracted at the end, that's how much you're going to move up and down by. So for example, let's say I give you sine of x versus sine of x plus 2. When we have sine of x from yesterday, the wave starts from 0, and then it goes 1, 0, negative 1, 0. And then the other way would be negative 1, 0, 1, 0. And so the wave will look like this. Okay? Now for sine of x plus 2, what's essentially going to happen is you're going to take these values and then you're just going to add 2 to it. So 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2. That's what's going to happen. So in a way, I take this wave and I move it upwards. Okay, so I take this wave and I move it up twice. Let's say that I probably will have to replicate this. So here I take this wave, okay, and then I move it up too. So all of these points has gone up to. Okay, so that's what's going to happen, and then you're just going to erase the original. This is the wave in which it represents sine of x plus 2. Now let's just take a look at a couple of important parts here. If the middle line was before at 0, now the middle line happens at positive 2. Okay, that's where it's going to happen. And the amplitude is still 1, no matter where you go. And it's going to alternate from 2, 3, 2, 1, 2 all the time. That is essentially what's happening. So this actual value at the end, that tells you where your midline is going to be. So when you're plotting this by hand, it's really important that we plot the midline from the get-go once you see the vertical shift right away. So forget about the phase shift. We'll be talking about that next time. I'm going to add the components a amplitude times the trigonometric function of x plus k at the end, which represents the midline or the vertical shift. Let's take a look at a couple of examples here where I give you 2 cosine of x and 2 cosine of x minus 1. Now that is dealing with both amplitude and the vertical shift. The amplitude with 2 cosine of x would mean that from yesterday, all of the values that contains the cosine of x, which we started at 0, 1, right? We started, that was our main point. We go back from 0.0, 1 into 0, 2. So just to give you an idea, let's grab these two first so I can help you with it. Cosine of x from yesterday. We start from 1, then we go to 0, negative 1, 0, 1. From pi over 2 pi, 3 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. These are what we call the essential points. Okay, those are the x-coordinate in which we plot those points. And then we go like this. And then we go the other way around. And we go like that. This is your cosine of x. Now, take this, and then what happens to the 2 cosine of x is that if I were to take the original function here, which should look like this if I were to plot it again. Okay, it always alternates from 0, 1, then go to middle, minimum, middle, maximum. It's gonna keep on alternating back and forth. But for cosine 2 times cosine of x would mean all these values we multiply by 2. So the 1 would become 2, 0 would still at 0, that's at -2, 0, and 2. So the middle doesn't change, but the max and min changes. So this would be the graph of your 2 cosine of x. So not only do I need to understand the concept of amplitude from yesterday, I also have to subtract 1 from it, right? So how do I do that? Well, from the beginning, instead of doing all of this stuff, this will just help you guys understand this, I'm going to erase everything. I am always going to start from here. So my middle line is established at -1. So I'm going to go down to -1. I'm going to draw this dashed line right here. Okay, we call this setting the frame. It's very important for us to be able to set up the framework first before we do anything with it. Okay, so now that I have the frame, now that I have the middle line, my amplitude is 2, which means I go up and down 2 from that. So I go up 2, and then I go down 2 from it. This is the span in which how high or low the wave is going to happen. So once I have drawn this out, it makes it very clear for us now what to do. Then I'm going to start with, okay, cosine goes from maximum. It always starts from max first because it starts from 0, 1. Then it goes to middle, then it goes to min, then it goes to middle, then it goes to maximum. So this is where your starting point is. This is where your y-axis is. I'm going to start from maximum, that's your highest value. Then at pi over 2, which your next sequence is where it's going to happen, that's pi over 2, it's going to go to middle. Next sequence, which is at pi, it goes down to minimum. 3 pi over 2, middle. And at 2 pi, which it completes one cycle for, that's going to be maximum. So this is going to be the wave. And lo and behold, if you were to take these from 0 to 2 pi, that's one uphill, and that is one downhill. So that completes one cycle or one wave. So you are in good shape. Then the other points will happen on the other end accordingly. So it goes to max, then it goes to middle, minimum, middle, and then maximum, and then I'm going to connect the dots like this, and then this will be the wave for 2 cosine of x minus 1. Okay? I'm not going to give you any negative cosines or negative signs. You need to understand the cosine waves always starts from max and goes down this way. And then sine waves, okay, make sure you write this down. And then for sine waves, it always starts from middle, max, middle, minimum, and then middle. So wherever you started with is where you should end it for those what we call 5 essential points. 5 essential points. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 questions. I need you guys to finish that by the end of, I'm going to give you the due date extension until Sunday, 11:59 p.m. Get it done by then, and Monday we'll continue to grind out on this trigonometric functions because I want you guys to get to understand amplitude and the vertical shift fairly well. We'll talk about phase shift, and then we'll talk about period and frequency after that. Okay, take care of yourself. Have a good weekend.